holds a law degree from Nottingham Law School in the UK. Adela's career has spanned leadership roles in some of the earliest Bitcoin exchanges, the deployment of Bitcoin ATMs at MIT and Overstock, and the development of crypto and tech law practices at major US firms. She has advised governments, regulators, and financial institutions across multiple jurisdictions working on anti-money laundering compliance, consumer protection, and the drafting of legislation that seeks to balance privacy, innovation, and accountability. She continues to guide startups, banks, and policymakers on how to navigate this fast-moving landscape, drawing on her unique blend of hands-on entrepreneurial experience and regulatory expertise. Outside of her professional work, Adela is a boy mom, a practitioner of mixed martial arts, and a lifelong sci-fi enthusiast, bringing the same discipline, imagination, and resilience she applies in her personal life to her mission of building a more inclusive and forward-thinking financial system. Her lifelong mission is to democratize financial access for the Caribbean and to bridge the gap between global financial systems and underserved communities through innovation, education, and policy reform. Adela also created and gave crypto CLE courses in various states in the US, most recently Florida. CLEs are continuing legal education for lawyers. So guys, with no further ado, please assist me in welcoming Miss Adela Tulor Forrester.
Wow. Is it off?
It's on.
Wow, that was a, is it here, this one?
Yeah.
Okay, that was a mouthful. I've just been a very curious person my entire life. I don't know a life without curiosity, and somebody who knows me from when I was born, Connie, is right there. Thank you so much for coming, so she can tell you I've always been curious. When I usually do these talks, I give them to regulators and lawyers and, you know, fancy people. And I didn't realize today that I was going to give it to regular people just like me. Because that's where it is. Every single day I learn something new in this industry, which is what makes it so incredible for me. So anyways, couple of things. I am going to keep this short because I think the most important part of this is, and I would love for you to take something away from this and take it home, is that we ask questions and maybe learn something today. So, all that to say, I'm going to modify what we're going to talk about because I want to make this as practical to you and your businesses. And today I've met artists, I've met an incredible architect, I've met a performer, a spoken word performer. I have met so many amazing people that are doing incredible things in Dominica. I met somebody who built a program for his son. And you know, the more that I speak to people today, the more that I realize exactly how much power and how much talent that we have in the Caribbean, that we have in Dominica, and how much we need to light a fire on that. And before I start today, I just want to thank the organizers of this, because that's how we move forward from being people that accept scraps to the ones that are innovating and at the top of our game. First slide. So the title of my talk is Blockchain, the Future of Banking. But before we get into the buzzwords, the charts, and the opportunities, I want to begin with a truth that's not easy to say out loud. For too long in the Caribbean, we have stood on the sidelines. We've watched the world change around us as if we were passengers on someone else's bus. Technology shifts, global finance evolves, policies are drafted in faraway boardrooms and locations, and what do? We wait. We wait to be told what we can and cannot do. We wait to see what the rest of the world decides. And only then do we reach and do we react. But waiting has a cost. It has cost us opportunities. It has cost us talent, and it has cost us the chance to design a financial system that reflects our needs, not the needs of unelected officials in Paris or Washington, D.C. And this is why I moved back to the Caribbean. Every time we sit back, we are sending a message to the next generation that your future will be imported. You will inherit rules, not make them. I believe it is time to change that. It is time for us to be proactive, not reactive. To build, not just comply. To stop waiting for permission and instead design systems that make sense for our people, our economies, and our future. Because to do that, ladies and gentlemen, we need to grow some. We need to grow some.
Some oranges.
Coconuts. Coconuts. Because coconuts are strong. They're resilient. They're rooted in our soil. And they don't wait for permission to grow. They withstand hurricanes, and when they don't, they come back with a vengeance. They nourish and they multiply. And that's what we need in the Caribbean. Not hesitation, not dependency, but coconuts. The courage to plant our own future and to climb our own trees instead of waiting for the world to drop fruit in our lap. Blockchain to me is our coconut moment, and it's time to grow. So we have old banking, new banking, and next banking. So just stay with me for a moment. Old banking is kind of like our old guard, right? It's going to the bank and standing in a line, and it's hot, and people quarreling on the side, and you can't get anything done quickly. You're almost treated as if you are a criminal because you want to access your money. How many people in this room have gone to the bank in the last month, by a show of hands? How many people had a good experience at the bank? Oh, wow. Okay. For the people that didn't see this at home, 2 people in a pretty packed room of people had a good experience at their bank. Disclaimer, I'm not being paid by PayPal for this, but how many people have used PayPal in the last month? How many people had a good experience at PayPal? Right, because PayPal's default, regular, is that it works. Not sometimes, not I need to come back because I asked them for $500 US because I need to travel, and they tell me, oh, you have to come back on Saturday. No, it's in our pockets, it's global finance that is readily acceptable. And one of the things that I've been a little bit outraged of, maybe you can see the passion here, is that we have been locked out of the global financial system, and it's time that we change that. Sending $500 from Roseau to Miami, criminal, takes 3 to 5 days on Swift. And that's not innovation. That's a time machine to the 60s, by the way, when women had to ask their husbands for permission to have a bank account. Our correspondent banks are another problem because we're constantly playing a pick-me game and checking the boxes from organizations overseas that are making laws in our country without being elected, okay? And making the process onerous for most of our users, which most of our users are just a little old lady with a little bag in her purse, in her side, or whatever, with her coins, just trying to do regular stuff. And for some reason, that has become a huge problem. And you know what? I wrote a paper back in 2008. And one of the things that I asserted in that paper was that more money is laundered in London, in Miami, before 10 o'clock in the morning, than is laundered in a year in the Caribbean.
True. Perfectly true.
Right? So why do we get this kind of this unfair treatment? We'll get there. So we need to have systems where we can move our money seamlessly. We can move money from pair to pair without the hassles that the middlemen have become. No offense to the banks. Okay, I did speak on that, so let's just go to the next slide. Everybody in the room smiled. So new banking is what is going on now. So again, back to PayPal. PayPal is doing the most. PayPal is doing the most. Do you remember when they were just a little fringe product? It was an app and you could use PayPal to send money to somebody overseas and you had to go through this long onboarding process. No, nowadays, check this out. So I went to pay for one of my credit cards and I had problems onboarding my normal bank that I would have used for that. And there was an option where it said, do you have a PayPal? I think it was debit account. And I said, well, why, yes, I do. So then I just linked up PayPal. PayPal has routing numbers. PayPal is doing the most in the banking sense of the word. But instead of going into a very uncomfortable place, which most banks are, it's in your pocket. Everybody has it. Everybody has a bank right here. And that's what new banking is at the moment. And we need to start demanding, because here's a secret. If we really internalized that the banks are in business because of us, and we let them know that, I think we can affect a lot of change. I don't know, call me crazy, but that's what I think. Okay, you can see for yourself. Swift, 3 to 5 days. It's taken me longer. Blockchain, 10 seconds. Pennies for the transaction. Don't really need to ask the banks for any permission. Wow. No wonder I like this thing. Not only that, there's an upside to this. So in terms of like your own record keeping as business owners, which let me tell you something, everybody asks me the same question every single time I meet them for the first time and they know that I'm into crypto. They ask me, how can I invest in crypto? What is the best way for me to invest? Let me tell you a secret. This is going to blow your mind. The best way and the fastest way and the easiest way to make money in crypto. Does anybody want to have a stab at this? No? Hand up? I'll put my hand up. It's to accept it. It's to accept it. It's to accept it. So a couple years ago, I wrote an article. Actually, an article was written about me in about 2014, and you guys can look this up, where I had just gotten a job, 2014, just gotten a job in the crypto industry. Okay, it was a Bitcoin ATM company. That was my first job in that industry. And the comments are priceless. Demons and mark of the beast, and you would have sworn that I was bringing on the apocalypse, right? And I remember somebody saying something like, and you guys can look this up, you're the technology generation. That I was, they hope that I'm not accepting payment in Bitcoin, because, it's not a thing. So I later calculated what 20 Bitcoin, that's my first salary, 20 Bitcoin would have been, right? Does anybody want to do some quick maths? Math? Yeah. 2.2 million. Where did you get your math? Classroom, I'm just kidding. About $2.2 million. That means that at today's current valuation, I would have made $2.2 million that month. Almost Trump level of epic. Now, before you look at me and ask me where it is, because remember, this value exists because of people like me, people who bought plane tickets and spent it. I certainly didn't have the luxury of keeping all of what I earned without spending it. It was spent, and that's how it became popular, and that's why people started to understand that it was easy to use. But I think this is one of the best gambles I've ever made in my life, not because that it's the world's, I think, quickest growing asset in terms of value, not because of that, but because for the very first time as marginalized people, we actually have a choice in how we spend our money without having a middleman in between to tell us, no, we can't. Next slide. We talked about PayPal. Next slide. I said I was keeping it short. Next banking. So next banking is going to be a mixture. I think it's going to be a mixture of this, which is now banking. It's going to be a mixture of blockchain. It's going to be a mixture of AI. It's going to be, our children need to know a seamless banking experience. No, actually, maybe they need to suffer under this one first so they can really appreciate good banking when it does come. But that's what next banking is going to look like. And how can you participate in this? Like, how can you play? How can you be a part of it? You can educate yourself as much as you can about this. You need to know the thing that you want to get into or you want to invest. You have to know it intimately. That's the first thing you can do. The second thing is that as a business, you can accept it. And it's very, very, very easy to do it. Very easy. I'll get there. Next. 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 There was like a lot of regulatory stuff in there, and you know, there's so many. No, we're not doing that. Next. So I worked on actually keep this one. It's actually cool story. You know, because everybody's like, oh my God, crypto, it's so dangerous. All the criminals love it. Yeah, criminals love it. Criminals love cash too. You know. Right. Doesn't make the thing a bad thing by its virtue. It just means that, hey, okay, it works. Exactly. So I worked on a couple investigations, including the Creators Alliance one. Y'all heard about that? Yeah. And the Hyperverse thing, which ended up being a multi-million-dollar scam. I worked on the DPRK hack, which, if anybody doesn't know, involved a bunch of nation-state actors, like bad folks. But the thing about blockchain is that, yes, criminals use it, but guess what? It's so much easier to catch the criminals because they use it. There is something to follow that is absolutely public, anyone can access. And, you know, I think if we actually start to work from that premise, we will, you know, really internalize the value proposition of integrating this into our systems. Next. Yeah, so we're going to side quest into scams. Very short. When we did the Creators Alliance investigation, we were able, my partner and I were able to track down about $140 million. And we don't have sidewalks. That money came from Dominica, St. Lucia, Grenada, and our small islands. And this is, listen, Iola, listen. You need to invite your friends and tell them to invite their friends, you know, because for some reason, as a small nation that everybody refers to as poor, which I reject, we were able to find our small nations $140 million, and that's what we could track down. So we knew that whatever we had tracked down, that there was more to it. Yeah. So And we were only able to do that because of the nature of blockchain. So I say this to say, like, when your cousin sends you a link to a WhatsApp group about put in $20, you're gonna get $2,000, you know, join the circle. How about you try to make it to the diamond level? It's most probably a scam. First of all, I think just if you're doing your due diligence, you should of course look up any sort of team members behind whatever scheme it is. Put the pictures through a photo search, okay? And if there's no results that come up, it's probably AI. And if it's AI, it's a scam. It's just that simple. Because I tell you what, when you go sign up at a regular brokerage, the amount of paperwork that you are given and the amount of the missives that you're given about the 9 million ways that you will possibly lose all of your money is just the standard practice for people who are taking your money for investment, okay? So when Richardson reaches out to you on WhatsApp, Telegram, or Facebook, it is a scam, okay? Next slide. Speaks for itself. Questions, comments? That's the end. Wait. I have one last thing to say. And this is to the gentleman sitting in front of me who was talking, who lauded Lamborghini, but also didn't speak very fondly about crypto and investing. However,
I don't criticize.
I
encourage to pay attention to this. There's a difference.
Okay, that is a fair comeback. That is a Lamborghini was the first car company to accept crypto. Just an FYI. And if you're looking at investment, generally you tend to look at, very successful companies, governments and all doing like crypto reserves. Like this is the kind of news that you want to look at in terms of, where and how you invest your money, and of course, invest very small amounts. Only what you can afford to lose. Whatever you spend on rum on a Friday night. Questions? How? No, I'm still getting there. Yeah. That how is gonna have to be at happy hour. Okay, questions? Yes? Joseph?
What I noted is that most of the governments trying to create an alternative to the US finance control, European and US finance control, more or less used a lot of crypto and Bitcoin accounts to start off to do reserves. But I'm still worried about its security. No, it really leaves traces. But the problem I have is how reliable is the accountability for the criminals, and just are the justice systems that will take action against them. Because the reason why I'm asking that, and that is my fright about, as I told the young people when I had to pay them, I tell them I'm not doing electronic banking, period.
Fair enough.
Okay? Because the fact is that, as we all know, we call it black web. But the truth is that black web is really controlled by the very intelligent internet techs. Those who are working in the very banks, those who are working in the government services like the Social Security, who knows all your IDs, they are the very ones who are doing all the problems. And because of that, they are not found, because most of them actually seek the funding to assist the governments and others to get out of their financial difficulties and are covered up. And we don't want to release that, because there will not be proper trust in governance. and so on.
There should never be proper trust in
But the
governance. I'm sorry.
problem is,
Skepticism, always.
the problem is most of us, we are the victims.
Yes.
And that's where the problem is.
No, you raise a very important point, and I think one of the things that we can start doing is demanding that we have legislation in place where when a company gets hacked and your information is there, that they must disclose it to you. One of the things that I found out when I was doing a study for the CARICOM on crypto is that we had several incidents in the Caribbean where accounts were compromised and nobody knew about it. Wild. Any questions, comments? Jason?
So what I forgot to ask you. So what are your views on, we spoke about cryptocurrency and digital finance, that's what it's called, working as a whole. What are your views on, let's say, central bank digital currencies? Let's say we have, I think the ECCB is trying to, has a pilot Bcash program. The US, last time I checked, said they want to develop something like that. And the EU, I think, is developing something like that as well. What are your views on it? Because I think that it is secure as well, but I know some persons have raised concerns as to the fact that it can be programmable and this and that. Whereas with something like cryptocurrency, Bitcoin and so on, it's decentralized and it's a bit more safer for the users as opposed to central bank digital currencies where the central bank can basically kind of control everything. So I just want, as you're an expert in the field, I just want to take the opportunity and ask, what are your views on where you think things are heading in that area?
Thank you for that. I think we should all be very gravely concerned when central banks want to offer retail products on the market, essentially regulating themselves. So who is going to regulate the regulator, for one? For two, why does a central bank need all that information on what purchases you make? So if Joseph wants to make a purchase and buy some flowers, does the central bank need to know that? Absolutely not. In this instance, the banks are actually acting as a decentralization layer all the time. So they're the good guys in that scenario. However, the product that you are speaking of was built by a Bajan company. Y'all need to go read the terms of service of this thing. I think they took it down, okay? But y'all need to read the terms of service. It's built by a Bajan company. The Bajan company owns the software, okay? And it is managed by a Trinidadian company. They are my colleagues, and I'm very sorry, guys, for saying this, but it is the truth. Both of those countries have their own central banks. So I would be very careful about accepting a product that was made by a foreign actor or foreign actors who retain the rights to any kind of access to it.
And that's the Dcash what is here?
It is any CBDC, and that's what he's talking about. But yes, we're speaking specifically about Dcash. I think they really need to go back to the board on this and start addressing some issues about privacy because, you know, privacy is already a big thing. I'm not sure I want my central bank to know how many glasses of wine I bought yesterday. No.
Get a call as soon as you spend on something, what you just
Exactly. Imagine if we have like a social credit system where, you know, now the government and central bank is now in collusion to say, well, you know what, you have diabetes. You can't. No, that purchase is not allowed. Jason?
So what you're saying is, I should apply for a job at the central bank, you know, and in the future. But another question is, the whole cryptocurrency field, a very important part of it is mining, right? And that takes a lot of energy. Do you see, or can you give any insight to the implications, if any? Let us say in Dominica we are working on geothermal energy. Would that be something that would be viable in a small country like Dominica, given the environmental impacts that cryptocurrency mining has? What implications do you see that having on Dominica, if at all, if any? Yeah.
No, it could be a very, I'm going to keep this very short. It could be very interesting for us. And again, those are the kind of questions that we need to ask and start doing research on that, on the geothermal project itself, you know, to understand how like outputs could you know, affect the production or like mining operations, and whether it's viable with the current difficulty rate of mining. Questions, comments? Jeremiah?
Yeah, Jeremiah. You mentioned something about cryptocurrency mining. I've been reading on that, and with the way it is, the amount of energy you're going to need, the amount of power you're going to need, I don't think it's possible in Dominica.
Okay.
Yes, because of the pool, right? It's like okay, there are some companies that have about thousands of systems. You understand? In mining, they have thousands of systems. And you have just 100. You know, you cannot beat them. So it's going to be very, very difficult to get a chance in that. You understand?
Yeah.
So in Dominica, it's very, very difficult. Dominica is too small. We don't have that power. We don't have someone that will just come and just buy like 2,000 systems. You know what I mean? Like computers and mining, you know, guys. Yeah, so that's what I think.
Thank you.
I mean,
Yes, sir.
Something just to,
Mr. Hilaire?
yeah, just to share for the benefit of all. When you're speaking about mining, you're looking at scale. So we may not have the scale like the international territories, but as we speak, there are actually people in Dominica who are already mining.
Oh yeah.
No, they don't make any thousands and the millions and so forth, but they're getting steady income from mining at present. So when
Depends on what you mine.
geothermal is going to increase their capacity. So there are a lot of things that are possible here. We don't have to.
We could have a mining pool, you know, as I think you're suggesting. So it doesn't have to be just Dominica, you know.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Very simple question. What is mining? What is that mining for industrial or mining for crypto?
Mining is the action of solving all of the problems on the blockchain. So what happens on a blockchain, here's how it works. Every single transaction is linked to each other to make a very long chain. So to solve any new transaction, you have to solve all the ones before it to say like, yes, this is correct. And so when it is correct, we're gonna put it on the chain. The first person to get it right and say, this is the right answer, they're the ones to get the reward. And that's what keeps the system going.
So how does that connect to cryptocurrency? And then if we were to use cryptocurrency, are we already using it in the Caribbean, in Dominica? And if not, why not? And how do we invest in it to use in Dominica?
Mining?
Yeah, no, cryptocurrency.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of people who have crypto. There's people who buy properties. I live in St. Lucia. There's people who buy property, cars, everything with crypto. And there are people here too.
So if I was to get paid in cryptocurrency, I would be able to withdraw that type of money.
Yeah, man. You listen. We have a group. I started a group in St. Lucia where, you know, it's people that are interested in technology and crypto. We get together, we just talk, we share news and everything. And you know, every now and then somebody says, "Hey, I need to liquidate X." You know, it's like buying a fridge. You're selling your furniture. And there's a space for that here, but you should also just create a space if you want one. You know what I mean? Seriously. Invite a bunch of guys, drink some beer, and talk about crypto. Or BB and grapefruit. Jason?
I'm interested in this area and I finally have
No, really? I couldn't figure that out.
So, do you see there being more advantage to the fact that in the Caribbean, especially let's say now in the broader Caribbean, there's less regulation on crypto than let's say other...
No, that's not true. That we have more, actually. Yeah, we've enacted regulation here in Dominica. I think a couple of years ago. I think the regulations just came out. St. Lucia, we did it in 2022. and our regulations just came out as well. I think we have one batch of amendments as well. There's legislation in Bahamas, Bermuda, the Caymans, always those ones. Nothing in Barbados. A couple of the other islands who kind of like taking a wait and see approach to it, which is also very healthy. There's none in the U.S. Wait, was that enacted? There was none in the U.S. for the longest time because they were just taking a sort of like regulatory approach to it and like, let's see what happens. Any more questions?
Can I ask? It's a way out of it, but to get back to it. Our problem in the region is basically the single island economies are more or less inadequate to maintain its people and its basic resource. I am one of those who believe very hardly in creating a single economy. All
Why?
the islands coming
Why?
together.
Why?
Because one, having one prime minister in Dominica, one in St. Lucia, one in Ting, and a governor added to it, and a minister of finance added to it, and a pool of civil servants who basically spend more than 20% of their time not providing and producing. I believe it will be better if we come together and reduce all those vast expenditures that overburden the taxed population.
I think several things can be true at once. So I don't think having a single economy is bad in a sense, but I think we can, if we pool our resources together, guys, we can actually get a lot more done. We can be done with this correspondent banking relationship nonsense, because then we would be speaking as a powerful bloc. But what you're talking about is a restructuring of what that would look like.
Right, basically what I'm trying to say, because what we have seen is our existing banking structure has gone to benefit not we the indigenous people, but the others. First it benefited the Europeans who came in.
Oh, but it still does.
And now it's benefiting the Chinese population, because at the time of the formation of the Caribbean Development Bank, China was the main investor, it's the largest shareholder. And part of the clause there basically, and we wonder why the Chinese citizens do so well there, because they are actually getting a grant, a loan grant facility because of the arrangement with China with the Central Development Bank. Okay? And I always make noise at our AGM at the National Bank. Why can't we? Because all the national banks pay money to the central bank, which is more or less interest-free. All right? And a lot of people don't know that, but we have to secure our monies at the central bank, and that secured money is interest-free. And who is benefiting from that? The shareholders of the central bank. Because our money is invested by them.
I think we should take this to the next part of our program, because if I start answering that today, I feel so passionate about this stuff that we're talking about. We have an expensive currency, etc., etc. So anyways, I know Mr. Yes?
Sorry, just one thing I want to chip in. I think this conversation is what we need to have more.
Okay.
We need to have more of this conversation. This shouldn't be the last.
Yes.
Yes, we need to keep talking about that and build a
Actually, my one of my colleagues was going to sponsor the event. He was unable to because he was traveling, and it was very last minute, and we were waiting for numbers. But he did say that he would do an airdrop and give crypto to everybody. So, and we would facilitate that with a QR code. I think the QR code is the main character today. So you have to come to the next event that we do, because it's very, as Jeremiah said, it's very important that we continue to have these conversations. And I wanted to get to Iola's observation. We good? We good? There was one more slide. There was one more slide. Yes.
Okay, I just have a quick question as well.
Yes.
In regards to the indigenous people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Originally, Dominica was basically owned by Kalinago people, right?
Of course.
Right now,
Yes.
the Dominican government is benefiting a lot from it, and we are a minority on the island, and we don't benefit as much. How is it that we can get some rights to just some benefits actually? Because they're earning a lot from our property, and we would like to know like what is the best strategy
Boy.
go ahead to get some actual compensation or something, because there are legal documents that it shows that we are the rightful owners, but we were placed in a reserve all the way in the northeastern section of Dominica, and we're still looked down as minority in the country.
Unfortunately, I am so sorry for that's one of the things that, you know, you either sit on the right side of history on this or the wrong side. This is a very binary issue. You are the original settlers of the land.
That is correct.
It is your land. We are the immigrants here. We were also forced here, most of our ancestors. And if you ever bring up the R word, repatriation, or what's the other bad one? Reparations. That was the one that I was looking for. If you ever talk about reparations, you're a bad person. But for some reason, these people will support literally killing babies. They will support PDF files. They will do the most, but actually care about people that they colonized, because we're ungrateful and we shouldn't want welfare because we're not big corporations that fly in to ask them on jets. It's kind of the same problem, right? I would say, you know, as someone with a legal education, which is not saying much, that I would start lobbying. It's a start, you know. But you're right. You're right. And where your own rights are not equal to other people, if they are not, that's never okay, you know. So I stand with you on that.
If I could say something, you may not realize, but I am also African. I am the great-grandson of Kalinago Chief Rennie Wilson, who was the last Carib chief before they were moved to the reserve. The problem there is that some of the Caribs agreed to go, and some did not, like my foreparents. Okay, and because of my ancestry, I am rightfully one of the largest landowners in the areas that I'm from. And the government, the state, the bar association have done the worst from 2002 to deny me that right, which I've been fighting. Okay? They cannot get away from it because I request that all my legal matters be placed before the Human Rights Council with the UN and also with the International Court in The Hague. That is why you notice that Lauren Roberts was removed as the ambassador to the UN, and they made all kinds of stories about it. Now they took her back saying she did nothing illegal. Okay? So what I'm trying to tell you, don't give up hope. The problem is that we cannot apply for, what is the two terms you said?
Reparations.
They also run away from it.
Yeah.
Okay, we cannot apply for it without including countries like Ghana and the African states who were directly more responsible for the slave trade than the Europeans. Because they were the ones, because of tribal wars, taking our foreparents, selling them out to the Europeans in order to take the lands of those they were selling out. And therefore, any form, and I explained that very clearly 5 to 4 years ago to people like our colleague or attorney, the one who, no, the one who was the Attorney General, and he was working in CARICOM. Okay, we were discussing all that on the internet, linking and discussing, and I explained that to them. For instance, we should not have accepted banks like Republic Bank when we are asking for Barclays to leave. Republic Bank is a Ghanaian bank, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think we asked Barclays to leave.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is that we didn't want to deal with them because they were a European bank. So, just so the Ghanaian bank, which is the Republic Bank,
Yes.
has also made assets on the wealth of the slave trade.
That's
And
why
these are-
blockchain is so important, because we can then put the banks aside and just
So
and transact.
this we can work on later, but let us
Right.
concentrate on the.
I think I saw another hand. Is that it? We good? Wait. There's one more slide. There is one more slide. Okay, hold on. This is important. This is important. Seriously, I promise. Welcome into the room the main character of the day, the QR code. That is my information right here. I encourage you to reach out. I'm on WhatsApp. If you need to set up a way to accept crypto for your business, reach out. Because I have API on that. I have documentation on that I can just walk you through. Okay, and with that said, guys, I am so honored that I was able to do this. I have met some very amazing people, and I thank the organizers very much for having me here today.
Okay, guys, let's hear it for our keynote speaker once again. Miss Adela Toulon Forrester, teaching us about blockchain, cryptocurrency, everything you need to know in the 21st century of digital finance. Just by way of announcements, we're progressing very nicely, given the time. I know you've noticed the young lady in the corner over there. We just want to give her some recognition. This is our live painter, Miss Abigail Toussaint. Everyone just give it a round of applause. At the end of the event, we hope that you'll be able to go by the live painting, take some photos, and post it on social media and tag the Dominican Young Entrepreneurs Club. Also, we want to recognize the presence of the... Yes. Also, we want to recognize the presence of the Tuna Development Committee. This is a group from the Kananaga Territory. The Tuna Development Committee is taking donations to renovate the Concord Field. Any amount is greatly appreciated. The representative, Miss Annika Thomas, is here. So, Annika, if you're here, can you stand, please? Yes, that is Annika, everyone. So if you have any donations that you'd like to send to them, you could meet with Annika and discuss that. So right now we're going to move into our final panel presentation. On the flyer, you may have seen that JL Joseph was supposed to join us today. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to join. We send our best regards. And in the section of our program where we're gonna have a full Q&A with all of our panelists, we will have Mr. Jeremiah Oseni to speak on social media or to answer any questions you may have on social media communications. Right now, we are going to welcome our next and final panelists, coming all the way from Banis Farms, Miss Naomi Banis, speaking to us on agriculture. But before we make Miss Banis feel welcome, allow me to tell you a bit more about Mrs. Naomi Banis Sampson. Naomi Banis Sampson is a proud daughter of the Dominican soil, hailing from the community of Casibres, where her love for agriculture was nurtured by her parents, both farmers and agro-processors. By age 8, she knew she wanted to pursue food science, a passion that led her to earn a bachelor's degree in chemistry in 2015. After Hurricane Maria devastated Dominica in 2017, Naomi felt strongly called to help rebuild her country. She went on to complete a master's degree in building and construction management, further strengthening her skills in resilience and development. Today, she serves as a technical officer at the Dominica Bureau of Standards, working with stakeholders to develop standards that support the island's productive sectors, including agriculture and food industries. But beyond her professional role, Naomi is deeply rooted in farming and agro-processing. She manages her family agribusiness, which produces the tropical munch line of local snacks, plantain, banana, and breadfruit chips. Along this, she also runs climate-smart agriculture farm tours, blending education, sustainability, and entrepreneurship to showcase the value of agriculture in building food security and sustainable livelihoods. Through these initiatives, she continues the legacy of her parents while carving out her own innovative path in agro-processing. Naomi also contributes her skills to community development as project manager of the Anais Canoery and Tourism Association. Naomi will come up and say the pronunciation. Tourism Association, where she has led projects in disaster risk reduction, on-farm water management for women farmers, and apiculture to enhance biodiversity on the East Coast. She previously served as a councillor on the Casibres Village Council, where she championed several community projects. With 8 years of experience in project management across the public, private, and non-profit sectors, Naomi brings a results-driven, people-centered approach to everything she does. She is passionate about the value-added industry, agriculture, as a cornerstone of Dominica's food security, resilience, and economic empowerment. Beyond work, she values family, enjoys traveling, and believes that despite cultural differences, people everywhere share more in common than not. Naomi's journey is a powerful story of dedication, innovation, and leadership in agriculture and agro-processing, making her an inspiring voice in the conversation on food security and sustainable livelihoods in Dominica. Ladies and gentlemen, please assist me in welcoming Mrs. Naomi Banis Sampson.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here and thankful to the organizers of this event. Every opportunity that I get to talk about agriculture and entrepreneurship, I enjoy doing that and really pouring from myself what I've learned with my family into others. So while we are waiting the presentation, the name he was trying to pronounce is the Ants Quanery Tourism Association. So Ants Quanery, Quanery was the name, a Kalinago name given to the Bay Area in the Casabres area. All right, so I'll be speaking to you briefly. I've been given the task of, and we're kind of heading into a slightly different direction. Everybody was talking about online, crypto, all the digital stuff. I'm taking you down now to the soil. Another important aspect, because without it, how are we going to survive? All right? So feeding the future and why young people should care about agriculture. That's right. Yes, nice. Okay. So agriculture is often seen, particularly by young people, as something for older people or for poor people, or maybe it's too much of hard work. But what I want to show you today is how it's actually one of the most powerful tools so that we can secure our future, our food, our jobs, our environment, and even our culture. And so we can go to the next slide. Before we start or dive, I just want to give a little brief about the business. So we heard a bit about the background. My parents, it's a family business, agriculture-based, agro-processing, the better known brands. So now what we did recently was have a overall company, Bonnet Enterprises Limited, and under that we have different brands. And I think as we are growing and thinking and innovating, we'll be adding more brands, so you can look out in the future. But for now, we've really been pushing the Banis Farms and the Tropical Munch brand. Next slide. So our Banis Farms is focused on the farm. We sell fresh produce. We produce the raw materials for agro-processing, and we conduct farm tours and also training. So if, let's say, you're interested in looking at school children, or even as adults, maybe you want to start a farm or so on, you can come and we can work with you to help you do that. And we practice a lot of different practices: agroforestry, crop diversification, and climate smart agriculture. So our next brand is the Tropical Munch. And I'm not sure how many of you all have seen it in the supermarkets before, but yes, it's a local brand. I think sometimes people say they don't buy it because they think it's something overseas. I think maybe because they think it's too pretty or something. So, but we are the ones who make that. So it's plantain, banana, and breadfruit chips, and we are looking to expand into gluten-free flour, seasoning pepper sauce, and fruit preserves. Right. So why does agriculture matter? And you can take a moment to think of what some of the implications of having no agriculture could be. All right. So you can close your eyes and envision. All right. So firstly, it's our food security. We have to eat. And for me, one of the first things that come to mind, if I don't have agriculture, I'm not going to be able to eat anything. Because everything, even if it's processed or ultra-processed, comes originally from agriculture. Even looking at things like medications and so on, all of them start off somewhere from the soil or tree or so on. So it matters firstly because it feeds us. And unfortunately, in Dominica, we import a lot of what we eat. But I think that we have the capacity to produce more or grow more locally. All right, we have the land, we have the fertile soil. I think Dominica, when you compare us with some of the other islands in the Caribbean, we have the best soil and best conditions for growing. So really, we should be the food basket of the Caribbean, right? So we also see that a little less than half of Dominicans live in rural areas where agriculture is their livelihood. So that makes it also closely linked to the well-being of these households. And agriculture ensures that food and nutrition security and reduces our vulnerability to global price shocks. So you can imagine when we hear things like the war in Ukraine or those other global events, a lot of countries begin running helter-skelter. What are we going to do? And we are positioned to be able to and I'm not saying not be concerned, but less concerned than some other places, because we should be able to feed ourselves for up to a longer period of time than them. All right. Secondly, the environmental impact. Agriculture is tied to the environment. All right. If we do wrong, we damage the soil, we damage water and our biodiversity. But if we do it right, we actually protect biodiversity and build resilience. And we know that we've set our target of becoming the world's first climate resilient nation, and that cannot be achieved without agriculture being at the center of what we do. Thirdly, agriculture helps to drive our economy. So we've seen in budget over budget or report over report of agriculture's contribution to the GDP, right? And beyond the local sales, exports of things like fresh produce and agro-processed products help us to earn foreign exchange and hopefully soon some Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. And it helps to strengthen as well our trade identity. So despite the challenges, agriculture is still one of the most dependable sectors as it relates to our economy. And lastly, heritage. And I found that a little, when I was looking for why I think it really mattered, it took me back to being a child and with my grandmother and my parents doing farming when we were younger. You know, at that time banana was the main crop, and a lot of us can remember back in those days. And some of the things that we learned, or we can even say cultural practices, even how we played, driving of things like the sek or the vepti. I don't know how young or old we might be to remember those things, but agriculture still played a role in making sure that we can pass those pieces of information on to the next generation, and so that becomes as well our culture or heritage. Even how we eat the foods that we eat, the traditional ones, the farin, the kalaloo, drinking of the cocoa tea. And you know, people right now, cocoa tea, Bexan cocoa tea is a big thing. So, and you look at it and you remember, but that's what I accustom of eating, you know, every weekend or every day. But for some people, that's nostalgic and they miss those types of things. So that's as well for agriculture being involved in that. Next slide. So I wanted to also look at some of the challenges that was plaguing the sector. And what we find is that we have a very aging farmer population. So less young people are becoming involved in agriculture. We see that the average farmer in Dominica is over 50 years. And they can no longer do it, which is why you pass certain areas of Dominica which used to be so productive, and you see bare land or land that is overtaken by weeds and stuff, because the young people are not getting involved. You know, so that is one of the biggest things. I also believe what this is also doing is making it difficult. So labor for farm is a problem. And also, I'm looking for, I have some big ideas, and we want more people to be able to work on the farm, you know, with us, and it's very difficult to find reliable labor. So that's a big challenge. Huh? This on hot. Construction is on hot. You know, when you have to work, you have to work, you know.
I already talked 5 weeks.
And one of the things we end up risking in losing is the knowledge and the skills that that you can get from the older folks. So when they are gone, and those traditional techniques of how to plant and sow, we're gonna lose that, and we're gonna lose the agriculture, no food, all right? So extreme weather events is another challenge, and I don't even have to go too much into that one. I think we are very familiar with the destruction of those and what it means for us. Every season now, it carries a different risk. So this year, I felt that the dry season was the rainy season, and the rainy season is the dry season. Because I was like, but what's going on? Which means it's affecting now the crops and the animals and how they behave and how they grow. And so that is posing a problem. We also have weak market linkages. Sometimes those of the farmers who end up being successful in the agriculture, they find to sell the produce, it's a little bit of a problem. Sometimes you get a glut on the market, the prices drop, you don't get your stuff to go overseas, or even in the supermarkets. This week, I saw one of the supermarkets asking for pineapples. And not so long ago, we had a lot of pineapples. And now we have no pineapples because our crop is finished, and they're asking for, when I ask her how much they're looking at, she tell me 10 crates. Like, I can't get that for you. Pass already. You know, so sometimes you have those things ending up happening, which can cause people to be discouraged and not want to enter into the agriculture as well. And then we have what we would consider limited access to finance and technology, especially because the farmer population is older. They're very skeptical of using the different technologies. They prefer having the machine on their back, walking barefoot and spraying the poison, as opposed to more innovative ways of farming. Next. So, what is in it for youth? And you'll see here highlighted you. So think of yourself. What is in it for you? There are opportunities, many opportunities that can take you out of the hot sun, and you don't have to work all day in the hot sun and still be able to make money from that. So there's value addition, which is where we are an example of how you can go beyond the field. And there are technologies like protected cultivation, so you can use a greenhouse, a shade house, and you don't have to be under the hot sun directly. All right, so for the value addition, instead of just selling the raw produce, you can add value. You take a breadfruit, you turn it into chips, you take a dashing into flour, your herbs into teas. And we have a lot of examples in Dominica of entrepreneurs who are doing these things. And I want to encourage you, if you are one of those, continue. If you are not one and you are interested, start. All right, you can start small, and you can always reach out to us for maybe advice or of ways or even ideas we can help you to develop your product. And it's also a way of getting a higher margin for your product. So the processing it gives, so where you'd sell a pound of dashing for $2, if you turn it into flour or so on, you can sell that for up to $20, $25. And it reduces wastage in agriculture. And you also have the opportunities of digital and data. So young people are more tech savvy, and you can introduce farm management systems, your apps, your sensors, drones, and GIS, and those improve your yields and efficiency, improves your productivity overall. And even little tools like your WhatsApp groups and Instagram to have your products being marketed, sharing with your customers, that can transform how you reach your customers as a farmer. And then we have nature-based solutions. So I know there are a lot of young people very passionate about the environment. Nature-based solutions are a way of taking care of the environment while being able to make some money. So apiculture, which is beekeeping, is an example of that. and things like vetiver planting. So vetiver is a type of grass. It holds the soil very well. You know, there are certain parts of Dominica, erosion is a big issue. So it would be good to use that. And you can add value to the vetiver. You can make perfumes. As a matter of fact, there are many perfumes where vetiver is being used. Or even, there's another grass, citronella, yes, that is being used as the basis. And I've always been saying, passing on the road, at that time they used to cut the grass with the stick and the cutlass, or the grass on the side road. And I used to be like, but whenever you pass and they're cutting grass, it smells so good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but to me, that's supposed to be able to use to make a tea or something, and we just cut the grass and just leave it on the side of the road. What are we doing with it? You know, so that's an opportunity for a young person to do something with that. Next slide. So, what can young people do? So, starting today, you can go on home and probably think of what type of solution I can come up with. You can start small and scale later. We've been in our business, it's now over 25 years. And I've seen people come out on the scene in 2-3 years, break out. So I don't know if I can say we've had a breakout moment as yet, but what I can say is starting small and making those step-by-step approaches has worked for us for the last few years. All right. Use climate smart practices. So because of what's happening around us and how our climate is changing, you want to ensure that you use some of those practices to help you with any shocks that may come from extreme weather events. So as I said, add value, not just produce. So beyond the raw crops, you can go into agro-processing, looking for healthier alternatives to imported foods, and that helps as well with food security. Leverage technology and social media, that's for your marketplace, to promote and to sell. Another very important one is to collaborate, not compete. And that's something, even a while ago, I just had a conversation with the 2 young ladies who were sitting next to me, and right there, collaboration, I think, may be born out of that conversation. And so you help each other. At the end of it, you both win when you collaborate instead of competing. And the next slide. We also have partners and policymakers. So youth, they cannot do it alone. And we need our partners and policymakers to come in. You can support the youth with what you call starter kits. And there are some government programs that look at things like that. For example, I remember a few years ago, there was one for hydroponics, especially for urban, not rural, urban area agriculture. So you can look into those. Simplify the access to the finance. I think that's a big one for a lot of people. They're young, they don't have the collateral, they don't have the experience or the credit history or so on. And then some places need to take better chance. But I think it's a case of where Peter paying for Paul. Some of our parents did some bad things in the past and now we're paying for it. But you can also have grants and other opportunities like that. Invest in shared facilities. I saw one being opened recently down in the south. But we need more of those on other parts of the island and let them be accessible and well managed. And also, because I work at Bureau of Standards, being able to meet those safety standards or standards for processing and so on. Link the farmers to the markets. It's something that will require everybody to come on board to do that aspect. So the institutions and government, they can set minimum local purchasing targets for schools, hospitals, and hotels. That's an area that could help the farmers. So again, also increasing healthier products within those systems. And so that will also help to guarantee the demand. And for embed agriculture in all schools, I know there are a few schools who do not currently have agriculture as part of their curriculum. But that's something that we need to strengthen within all of the schools. The gardens, have the school gardens, the 4-H clubs, agri-science programs, and get the children involved. If not, again, we run the risk of losing all of that in the future. So, next slide. So to wrap up, agriculture in Dominica isn't just about farming. It's about food security, climate resilience, economic independence, and cultural pride. The challenges are real, but there are also opportunities, especially for young people. If we start small, we embrace innovation, and partner with supportive institutions, agriculture can be not just our past, but our future. Thank you.
Okay, let's hear it for Mrs. Namibane Sampson one more time. Okay, so we've had a full day of activities and we're just about winding down with our final section, our final interactive session of today's event. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to invite the panelists. We were supposed to have about a half an hour panel discussion, Q&A with the panelists. But what I'm going to do is that I have a few questions and I will ask each of the panelists one question and then we'll take a few questions from the audience, not too many. So if you really have a burning question that you need to ask, please be ready. So allow me to invite the panelists to the front. Ms. Iola George, Mr. Brenton Hillier, Mrs. Namibane Sampson, as well as Mr. Jeremiah Oseni. As well as Mr. Nicholas Dennis.
I swear it's about to gas the sugar. You swear it's about sometimes my TV upside down. Okay. Mosquitoes, I don't know what. My whole life is. And Brenton. He finally come at the table.
Okay, so just introducing our head panel one more time. We have Mr. Brenton Hillier, who spoke to us earlier today on digital finance. Mrs. Namibane Sampson, who just spoke to us on agriculture. Ms. Iola George, who spoke to us this morning on communication, effective communication. Mr. Nicholas Dennis, who spoke to us on AI and technology. Mr. Jeremiah Oseni, who will be replacing Ms. Jael Joseph. Just to give a background on Mr. Oseni, Jeremiah Oseni is a versatile web designer, digital transformation trainer, and trader with a strong background in science and technology. As a certified CAR-DTP tutor, he has contributed to various digital wallet setups, enabling seamless online payment systems across platforms. Jeremiah holds academic training in pre-medicine and studied biochemistry, which complements his analytical and structured approach to problem solving. Beyond his professional expertise, Jeremiah is also a social media strategist, passionate songwriter, and performer with a deep love for football and gaming. His unique blend of technical skill, creative expression, and educational leadership positions him as a dynamic force in the evolving digital landscape. So we know our panelists, they will have been with us for the entire day. So right now, I'm just going to throw out one question to each panelist individually. And like I said, if you have a burning question, please be ready. Okay, so we're going to start with Mr. Brenton Hillier, who spoke to us on digital finance. Mr. Hillier, how can small, I'm sorry if you're feeling like we're on like a game show. Yeah, so Mr. Hillier, how can small businesses or individuals better prepare for financial uncertainty in today's economy?
Good afternoon. To first of all be prepared, it goes back to that mic is okay. Oh, so I'll speak closer to that. I mean, going back to what I said earlier, to be better prepared, you have to work on establishing that buffer or the runway, or however you want to phrase it, that separate account outside of your standard operating account that is just there in case of. And ideally, you want to target as having as much as 6 months worth of your expenses. That would then take you to the first step which has to be taken, which is understanding what your numbers are. Because if you don't do your accounts, then you have no idea what you need to run your business on a monthly basis. So you need to have your accounts in place, study your accounts, so you first establish what are my expenses like, and then based on that, you can start working on that buffer. Going a step further, it is one thing to be prepared for those shocks in the market, and shocks will happen. I tell people all the time, it's not a matter of working in Dominica, it's just a matter of running business. You cannot run any business anywhere in the world and not be affected by what is happening in your environment. If we go on social media right now, we see that several companies in the United States are actually downsizing. If you read the latest report from America, they have actually seen a decline in the number of people that are employed. And the number of job adverts has declined as well, the so-called great American economy. So the fact is, wherever you are in the world, you will have to deal with those situations in your business. So have that buffer, but you still also have to be able to pivot, which is going to be key. If things are not going as it should, what are the changes that you need to make in your business to survive? Now, for those who know me back in the day, I'm a BlackBerry boy. Love that phone. I still support the brand. I mentioned I invest in shares. I invested in BlackBerry because I believe in the company. BlackBerry was known as the key phone maker back in the day. Do they make phones today? No. They left the market completely. Is it still a company today? Yes. Right now, BlackBerry is the #1 producer of the electronic systems in vehicles, the media entertainment systems, and also they're one of the top companies for security. So they're still operating, but it's just that they realize the market, they realize the shocks, and they had to pivot and change. And I feel like sometimes in our economy, we do not do enough to change our operations. We see things happening in the environment, and we just stay there and decide, that's it. We take it. If we survive, we survive. If we don't, we don't. But you have to be intentional. And COVID to me was a very significant milestone for a lot of companies here because they did not just sit down and take it. They switched their operations. You saw several companies developing their own websites. You saw companies partnering with other companies. We heard about partnerships a while ago, where you order online, and on top of that, you would have a middle player delivering it to your business. All of that is along the lines of pivoting. So to cut it short, first, understand your expenses as a business owner. 2, work on that buffer based on your expenses so that you can survive a few months. But while you survive, also study your business and make the changes necessary to make sure that you can continue surviving regardless of what is happening to your business.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hillier. Now to Ms. Naomi Dennis Sampson. Dennis, sorry.
I was sorry, said Denise.
Okay, Mrs. Sampson, how do you see the role of young people in modern agriculture, especially in adapting to climate change? How do you see the role of young people in modern agriculture, especially in adapting to climate change?
Right now, we really sound like we're in a pageant. But I think I addressed that in the presentation with the fact that young people being more technology savvy, so they can incorporate some of those things into the agriculture. I think somebody had mentioned some about drones earlier. I think that was Mr. Nichols. That's one of the things that I don't see being done a lot in Dominica. I'm hoping to be able to introduce something like that on our farm soon, to be able to keep track of our animals. Because sometimes, people get a little handsy. And sometimes you put them in certain locations and you're looking for them and you cannot find them. I remember there was a time my dad brought home a goat and, not home, on the farm. He brought it on the farm, and the next day he was looking for a rope or something to tie it, and then the goat escaped. And for almost a week, there was a big argument in the house because my mom didn't want the goat and he brought it, and for a week we couldn't find the animal. Almost ready to make a police report because where is the goat? But apparently it wasn't accustomed with that type of environment, and so it was just hiding in the bush somewhere. And just every time we were coming, it would just like duck. And so a drone would have been useful to me there. So, these are some of the things you can incorporate. I think we also mentioned the nature-based solutions or new ways. With the apiculture, I've gotten a bit obsessed with bees recently. I did a little project on it, and I think I understand without them we will not have a lot of food. And so I also recognize the value of honey. So that's a big thing, and it seems very simple, and Mr. Kazimi is there. He can vouch for my comments. His mom is the Be Natural. So these are things where you can make a lot of money, and I don't think it's very difficult to check the hives and so on. So these are it's just finding new ways of doing the same things that have been done in the past. Gather the knowledge and improve on it. So that's my advice to young people. And we spoke about the value addition as well.
Thank you very much. Okay, Miss Iola George. What's one communication mistake you often see and how can it be avoided? One communication mistake that you often see and how can it be avoided?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. I would say one communication mistake I see is what some people would call spray and pray. Basically, you just put information out there and pray that it sticks and somebody connects to it. There's no strategy, there's no depth of creativity in terms of how you structured whatever it is that you put out there. So I think for small entrepreneurs or even people who work within organizations, and especially with the topic at hand in terms of digitization, there are so many tools out there right now that you can put out your information or communicate with your audiences in a very strategic way. So it's not anymore guesswork or I just feel to post about whatever. No, sit down, think about your audience and what you want to say to them, how you want to promote your product, and plan it out for if it's a month, if it's for a season. You may have a business that's seasonal, like you in the tourism sector. So from October to April, You're going to go hard, and these are the things you're going to do. Carnival is around this time, so we're going to have carnival-themed activities. Independence is around that time. Christmas is around that time. And you plan along those lines. Don't just wake up one morning and just do something off the top of your head. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that's made, and when people don't connect, and they may wonder, but I'm posting stuff, but I'm not connecting to people, that's probably why. So I would say that's it.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Nichols Dennis, how do you see AI shaping everyday life in Dominica in the next 5 years, especially in industries like agriculture, finance, and communication? How do you see AI shaping everyday life in the next 5 years in Dominica, especially in industries like agriculture, finance, and communication?
All right. To be clear, there'll be a lot of differentiations in what AI will be utilized in Dominica specifically. I feel that a lot of persons have a little hesitation with utilizing of AI, but in Dominica, in the next 5 years, I see that there will be a lot more automated systems within the government sector and within a lot of businesses and corporate sectors. It will be there. I know they have a lot of advocates for this. I know them personally, and they've been speaking about different ways that they're going to try to implement the structure. What I'm hoping is that the public have the ability to latch on, because there's a lot of headway that needs to be covered when you try to come with artificial intelligence. I mean, it's not something that people should be scared of, but it's something that they should embrace. In the aspect for agriculture, I feel that most likely it may come in the point of monitoring our entire terrain systems, also monitoring the type of weather patterns that we can have during seasons. So you can actually structure what is the best time to do type of displacements of property, of agricultural plantations, and also how to actually focus on when you should actually do harvesting and probably other market types of distribution. For finance, this is where I think it'll be a biggest concern for a lot of people, as it will revolve around the part of fraud and identity theft. A lot of people have to be a lot careful with how they see their information, what information comes to them, because right now you get a lot of phishing scams, which is something where somebody can be sending an impersonated message to yourself. But what is going to happen with AI is you're going to get this on a frequent basis. You're going to get it 10 times more in the next 5 years. So you have to be a lot more vigilant about what messages you trust and what messages you feel that is validated. Because the way to come is, just like if you went on a YouTube channel and you watch a YouTube video, you see a bunch of messages that look like bots and fake messages, that's going to be just AI messaging you on a daily basis about, I got a great opportunity for you. I got a great, and most of the time it's just going to be an AI chatbot. If you respond to any type of messages, you have to be vigilant to know how you're going to validate that source of information. So with communication, this is where it's a little bit tricky. You're going to have to try to ask yourself, is the information you're being relayed true, or is the information being relayed false? And you have to ask yourself a question also, will it matter to you? Some people will not matter what type of information they get. Once this type of information they feel that is validated, that they'll just jump onto it. So now you're going to have to do a lot of due diligence with all information you receive, because we're going to have what we call a lot of AI slop over the internet and coming to you on a daily-to-day basis. Right now, YouTube has initiated a policy where they want to cancel out authentication of what type of content people get. You're going to see an AI label on almost every content you get online. So Facebook has this AI label recognition, Instagram going to have it, Reels going to have it, on TikTok going to have it, your email have it, everywhere is going to be. So I feel that a lot of people are going to have to be a lot more vigilant in what they trust that they see online. So yeah, that's it.
much, Mr. Dennis. Okay, Mr. Jeremiah Oseni. How do you balance authenticity with the pressure of creating content that attracts followers and sponsors? How do you balance authenticity with the pressures of creating content that attracts followers and sponsors?
All right, thank you so much. As a creative entrepreneur, I actually assign value to my work, all right, by looking at just more than the price tag, right? You have to consider the authenticity, the originality of the idea. If you notice, right, I'm not much of a talker, yeah, but if you notice, it's easy to jump on a trend than create a trend, right? A lot of people you just see something online, okay, let me recreate this, but they are not the original owners of this trend, right? So what I mean is, whether it carries a unique vision or a voice, right? You have to look at the impact, the originality, whether it uplifts, right? Whether it inspires, whether it motivates, or whether it solves a problem. That's how I assign value to it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oseni. And for our final panelist, our keynote speaker, given Dominica's size, regulatory landscape, and the push for digital transformation, what practical steps do you see as most critical for integrating blockchain into our banking and financial systems? And how can we ensure that it benefits ordinary citizens and small businesses rather than just large institutions?
So this is a very practical thing. The answer is not fancy at all. It's education. That's how we get into it. You cannot invest into something if you don't know what it is. You're more likely to lose if you do that. You cannot regulate something if you don't know how it works. You cannot be involved in something if you don't know what it is, you know? So that's what we need to do. We need to ensure that, first of all, we need to think of all of ourselves as stakeholders. There's that. We're all stakeholders there. And that's what blockchain and crypto does. It democratizes finance for all of us. So we simply must learn. And what a lot of the big companies do who get involved, and the government, is that they have special task forces that do all of the research, all of the expensive research. They look at the price charts and everything. So we really need to just educate ourselves from the top up. There's that. And it's still a young industry, so you can learn everything critical about it as opposed to, 2,000 years of painting styles. How can small businesses and as well as large ones and regular people, the same formula? Education, 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 and accept it. That's it.
Thank you very much. And that was all the questions that I had for the panel. Like I said, if you have any pressing questions, now is the time to let it be heard. Okay, so you can stand, and if it's a specific question for a specific panelist, you can just let them know. I'm gonna start with Ms. Amika Cogman in the back.
So my question is directed to Mrs. Barney Sampson. Earlier in your presentation, you stated that you are hoping that we can have more shared facilities Were you talking about shared facilities for agriculture or for other small businesses? I didn't understand what you meant by shared facilities.
Well, at that time, I was talking about agro-processing. So one of the difficulties here with agro-processing is space. A lot of people work out of their kitchen. There's a little space that they cordon off in their house. For best practices, it's not ideal. And so having those spaces that are up to the standard, then it helps with agro-processing. And the shared spaces, meaning if you can do multiple things within the same space. So there will probably be a schedule, and I do flour, you do cake, you do whatever, and then different persons come at different times. And it's probably operating like 24/7.
And I just have one comment. So Mr. Dennis was mentioning where he sees Dominica open rather in the next 5 years in terms of Mr. Dennis was stating where he sees Dominica in the next 5 years in terms of the use of technology, etc. And I just wanted, for those of you who are into agribusiness, so that you know, because he stated something and I think it already exists, and just that most persons may not know that it exists. So currently, the Dominica Meteorological Services Office, they have invested in putting out data that is specific for farmers. So usually, though they have a WhatsApp channel, us, the regular people, might just look at it for when it's going to rain, the sun, the heat, when the moon rises, when sun sets, etc., and probably just to get tropical wave information because of our location. However, on the Met Services page, the actual website, they do provide seasonal and monthly forecasts, and it is basically geared for the farmers. So you can get seasonal, so the wet season, dry season, the probability of the season, and they do it on a 2-week basis. They give a forecast, I think, for like 2 weeks and a month that they use from collecting data. So my day job, I work at forestry, and so I'm privy to that information. So I'm just letting you know that it does exist for those in the agri business, that you can check out their website to get information on the seasonal forecast, which may be better for you for planting. So it already exists, and so just clarifying that. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Okay, I think we had a question here.
Ms. Banis. Ms. Banis, I had a question for you concerning like
I help him.
yeah, concerning refinery, like having a refinery for to create flour out of the breadfruit and the plantain and all those things, because I know they do that, and I was thinking that that would be a good thing for us to invest in, and that could be a big thing here in the country. Yeah.
Okay. So essentially, you're saying that the products that Banis Farms essentially is innovating in Dominica, because as you see the packaging, it's really nice. It's something that you swear we're importing, but to see more manufacturers or more farmers getting into this on even starting on a small scale, one day we can progress, and hey, you can be the next Lay's, who knows? Lazy plantain chips, who knows? So, all right, do we have any more questions? Okay.
Yes.
Let me, my friend here first.
Good evening. In regard to the Bureau of Standards or the agricultural lady, Ms. Banis, I would like to ask you is, how do you go about trying to create your own water supply? Is there a way you can get your own water supply to your land, or you have to get an irrigation system for your agricultural products? Because they're expensive.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand your question.
Okay, so for example, if you have a sloping piece of land, right? But the area is very hot and the land is dry and acidic. But you need water to grow your crops. How do you go about doing that?
When there's I'm trying to, I was looking for the Bureau of Standards part.
Yeah. Is
So
there a
the
specific way that you go about doing it?
about getting the water on your land.
Yes.
You can use water harvesting, so the rain, or if you have river nearby, you can. I've known people who put the Wasco water on their land as well. Yeah. I hope I answer your
Yeah,
question.
because I'm looking into.
I think she's talking about the sloping.
Ah, okay. Okay. So yes, water harvesting. So you could use rain. You could set up different systems. There are different systems. There's even one that goes underground where you store water. And then, as I said, if there happens to be a river or a stream nearby, you can maybe do some connection. And then there are farmers who use the Wasco water on their land.
Okay, so guys, we're gonna take about 3 more questions if you have the time. Just 3.
Maybe you should say 3 more questions. Sorry for the reason, because I have about 3 to 4. Okay. Okay, I'm Joseph Leblanc, as you all may see, and I am basically a long-term, as we say, suffering entrepreneur. You know, some of us like to take the thing day by day and get results overnight. But I look forward to long-term investment, and I more or less, I don't do it just for myself. I do more for, let's say, the country. It takes decades to convince government sometimes, but on the long run, it's successful for all. Okay, I have Leo Imel Agencies Corporation, which is a for-profit, and then Leo Imel, the foundation entity, which is a non-profit. They were actually put in place for a development program, Leo Imel, the Security, Emergency Response and Transportation, which is to work with the CSME to provide transportation, emergency response, and the day-to-day problems we are having in agriculture and the other things in the region. So the proposal is in the hands of the government, and I was set back. I'm working on that from 2008, 2006, 2008, while the government was spending, and the OECS and CARICOM was spending millions and millions of dollars through the Euro, getting consultancies. I was secretly doing my own research and building up things, and they have confessed that that was the best proposal they had in over 30 years. Okay, but it's very costly, as you know, and to get through. So first thing I'm putting to you all is, I would really like every one of you business card and details, and if we could meet to set up a team that we could look at it. I'm giving you an offer off the table of a value that may reach as high as 375 million. Not directly in cash, but in share capital. Okay? So we could meet and have a discussion on it to then reapproach the state. I actually am risking my green card waiting for over 5 years in order to get a response from them. That's tell you how valuable it is to the region. Now we're talking about AI. Mr. Nichols, my problem is with AI, especially on the chat boards, you're using your voice. Is there any precaution to prevent the actual recording of your voice, which a hacker can then utilize with all the personal informations to get into your general system, banking, your computer system, everything? Is there any protection against that? Because you must interface with the what's the name, Gemini or whoever is their name, vocab, right? Is there any protection on this?
Okay, Okay, to answer your question, anytime you use voice assistant or most of these chat clients, once you end your session, once you stop your chat, the data which you uploaded is being deleted.
Okay.
It's being deleted. Like it's no longer being accessible. It usually has a time session, even if you read the chat and you delete it yourself, after about a period of 2 to 3 days, what data you left there, if it's not written text, like something you uploaded like a picture, a audio file, a video file, you will not be able to access it if you say the session closed.
Okay.
So if you try to access it, people say that it's actually removed from the server.
Okay.
They do say that majority of the information you upload to their servers are secure. I can guarantee you 100% that it is secure, but you have that ability to also remove your data once ever it's uploaded and remove from the servers. What a lot of people are focusing on right now is trying to have their own version of their chat client on their system.
Okay.
I currently have my own chat client in my own system. I can run it locally on my laptop because I know how to do it. It's not that complicated, but if you want to go into that route where say you want to have the access to your own chat where you don't want to actually distribute any data to the cloud, that's a possibility.
Okay. Okay, you may wonder why I'm asking you that question. And you use the term delete. Now, delete regarding the internet system is something that is just a fake, as you know. Okay? Because you may see it delete on your device, but the truth is nothing is deleted in the internet system. That is why the intelligence agencies can go back to systems and collect a lot of information. Okay, so that is a thing. That is why I love the internet. I love to use the system. But to me, there need to be added security. So thank you very much. And then for the agro-processing. The problem I have with the agro-processing, everyone is pushing every single entrepreneur to try to go small. But in our past experience in agriculture, Dominica especially has been used as a lab for big international cooperations. We saw it in the banana industry, we saw it in the cocoa industry, we saw it in the citrus industry, where we were pushed to go into those crops, produce. We actually even rented a juicer, which was at Elrose and Company, rented from Florida, and then the company took it back, and then we lost that. And now you have some of the largest citrus orchards in Florida. Cocoa was the same thing. The British companies took all our system of growing cocoa, take it to the African countries where there are major cocoa plantations. Banana was the same thing. We struggled to build bananas, then they took it to Chiquita and the other big corporations went to Latin America. So it's very clear that starting small is good for our financial situation, but for our economical viability is dangerous. Okay, we saw the example even with DCP and the coconuts. Dominica had the largest coconut farms, and we had the best coconut products, oil, soap, and so on, to the point that DCP was sold for $96 per $10 share in order to get rid of it because of its massive competition. And I can talk about it because I was in Cuba while we negotiated to get the Cuban market for DCP over Palmolive and other companies. But unfortunately, the Nassifs opted to sell it out. Okay? Now, don't you believe it will be better if the state comes together in creating a major cooperative system among farmers to create major processing plants?
We have different systems that we try to work and organize. And what you find sometimes is one of our biggest hurdles is the mentality of our people. So I've seen a lot of cooperative systems come and go. I've seen a lot of other types of systems come and go. And even if you have the environment or the system set up in place and the people who are in the system, it's not working out, then you're back to the same square one. So, but it would be good if you can, as I mentioned, the whole the facility, the shared facility. That's one of the ways to address the same challenge that you're talking about. So it can help.
Well, that is one of the reasons why I asked that, because take for instance, on all the industrial estates they have on the buildings, all they have to do is retrofit one or two of them for such. That's why I said the government, if that is done, either through the aid bank and its thing, you can create processing plants that can be used at varied time by different families.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And regarding the financing, as you rightfully said, based on age, that parents are no longer given loans because of the age risk. And that is affecting the agricultural part. But if from the beginning, the state and the bankers pushed to create a corporation or a company through every agricultural family, or any family that produces something, won't that be a better guarantee, not just for the family or for the state? Because every member of the family becomes a shareholder. They have their contributors. So that company cannot be destroyed except for sale or bankruptcy. Don't you believe that will be better to facilitate financing? Because even if the parents pass the age of being able to get loans, you are taking the loan on the company's name, on the family's asset.
So sorry to interrupt.
Okay, so can that be facilitated?
So sorry to interrupt. Can we have the rest of the discussion at the after hour?
Okay, thank you. But that was my last question.
Yeah, because we need to do.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for this very interactive session. I will invite the panelists to return to your seats. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Okay, so at this moment, I will welcome the president of the Dominica Young Entrepreneurs Club to give us the vote of thanks as we wind down on this afternoon's activity.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm going to try to make this short. On behalf of the executive of the Dominica Young Entrepreneurs Club and the organizers of the Think Outside the Box Youth Symposium 2025, I take this opportunity to extend heartfelt gratitude to all those who have made this event a success. First and foremost, our sincere thanks goes to our keynote speaker, Ms. Adela Tula Forster, whose words of wisdom, insight, and encouragement have truly set the tone and inspired us all to think beyond limits. Ms. Adela, your message will surely stay with us as we continue to build and innovate. To our panelists, thank you for sharing your expertise, your personal stories, your honest perspectives. The discussions were thought-provoking, practical, and motivating. exactly what our youth needed to hear. Your contributions have sparked ideas and opened new pathways for actions in Dominica. So I want to thank Mr. Brenton Hilaire, Ms. Naomi Banis, Ms. Iola George, especially for coming on board last minute. I think she replaced Monel Alexis. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. Mr. Jeremiah Oseni also came on board last minute to replace JL Joseph. Nichols Dennis, thank you very much. Hope I didn't miss anybody out. And to the audience, both in person, thank you for your engagement, your questions, and your energy throughout this program. This symposium would not have been possible without the support of our sponsors, Fine Foods, Vibes Radio, DBS Radio, they are covering this session live today, Kyrie FM, The Vibes, also Global Empowerment Services, sponsored our Kalinago group here today, also Pancake Initiative, and Twig Heads. Thank you to all sponsors. Yes, and I should not forget the support of Mr. Claudius Lestrade, a generous supporter and sponsor of this event, and Minister of Tourism. Am I Permanent Secretary? What did I say? Okay, Permanent Secretary of Tourism. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. So once again, we extend our deepest appreciation to all speakers, panelists, and everyone present. Let us carry this inspiration today and move forward to empower and uplift the youth of Dominica. I want to also thank our artist, Miss Abigail Tuse. She's doing a live painting here. I think she was mentioned earlier. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you to all volunteers and of the Dominica Young Entrepreneurs Club and members. Thank you so much to our MC. Okay, I hope I mentioned that earlier. Thank you so much for helping to keep everything organized, and thank you for all your hard work today. Thank you to everybody. I hope I didn't forget anybody. Yeah, and we have some gifts for you, so our volunteers will hand you the gifts, and Mr. Norris will make a few mentions before we move on to the happy hour section.
Let's make our president, let's thank her once again. All right, so yes, and we cannot forget to thank the venue host who made it possible for us to all be here today. UE Open Campus, let us hear it for UE guys. Thank them so much for the generous support. And right now, we had a very enticing day, and in order to wind up properly, we have a few prizes. Of course, we have our tokens for our panelists, but as members of the audience, we wanted to make it in such of a way that you could go home with something. But as you know, there's no such thing as a free lunch. So we have a few questions, very simple, trust me. And it's based on today's session. So if you remember the presentations, if you remember what we spoke about, then feel free to answer and get a chance to win a prize by one of our sponsors. So right now, while our volunteers will be presenting tokens of appreciation to our panelists, allow me to ask you these few questions. The first question is based on the presentation from our keynote speaker. She spoke on it multiple times. It was one of the first things that was like really, flashing in the presentation. What were the 3 types of banking that Miss Adela Tulole spoke about? All right, I saw Georgiana hands go real quick. Okay. Don't say it yet.
Okay. I could have come to you, but okay.
All right, so Ms. Georgiana is going to give us the response from the 3 types of banking that our keynote speaker spoke on. What are the 3 types of banking?
Okay, so the 3 types of banking she mentioned was firstly old banking, and then she mentioned new banking, and she ended with next banking.
Is that correct, keynote?
Yeah, we have a gift for the person who got that card.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so the 3 types of banking that our keynote speakers spoke about was old banking, new banking, and next banking. Are we ready for the second question? Are we ready? All right. So this one came from our effective communication session. What was the secret that was passed around the room at the beginning of Miss Iola's presentation? The secret that was passed, you see, remembering is fundamental, because yes, we passed around the correct message, but now we have to remember the message. So there was about 4 people in this room who the message passed by. Okay. Sorry. Yes.
I don't know. I was not one that received the secret, so I'm taking a very rough try at this. I think it was saying effective communication is better than social media.
Again, I'm just taking a guess. I believe it was effective communication brings meaningful development. No. Anyone else?
We had 4 people in the room who the message. Okay, so this
Correct to the word bring.
You not saying, do I
Okay. So this is also a very important part of communication. We have direct and indirect communication. 4 people received the message directly, but afterwards it was passed along to everyone else. So what was it?
Telephone communication.
Effective communication brings media to life.
I knew it was something brings. Yeah.
Effective communication brings media to life.
Okay, so like it was celebration, I was very close. Now right now, President just told me that if someone gets 2 questions correct, you get, well, it's not even a chance, you get, is it two of them, right?
Yes.
2 White Sunset tickets.
What?
2 White Sunset tickets. And the crazy thing is that I only have 2 questions left. So this is the all or nothing round.
So would you like your mic back? It feels kind of unfair for me to just have it there. Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I only have 2 questions, guys. We have to make this worth it. My first question comes from the presentation from Digital Finance with Mr. Brenton Hillier. Who remembers the 50-30-20 rule? Georgie, you get one already. I see a hand behind you. Let's try the hand behind you.
Wait, so if I answer no, does it count?
Oh, I want to try the person behind you first. Yeah.
No, let her go.
You sure?
Brenton is my boss, so technically it's
Oh, okay. Conflict of interest. Okay, so the 50-30-20 percentage rule, 50% goes towards your needs, like your expenses, bills, and so on. 30% goes towards your wants, maybe combing your hair, something, and 20% goes towards your savings and investments.
Is that true, Mr. Hillier? Yeah. And that's correct?
So you get your son.
Wait, you have to answer 2. You have to answer 2 questions for the White Sunset ticket. No, we announced it afterwards. She already won the prize for her first question. So now this is where it gets crazy. This is where it gets crazy because if she's not able to answer this second question and someone else is able to answer correctly, you get the prize. Well, you got a prize for your first question. Now this is So the second question, Georgiana gets dibs. Georgiana gets dibs on it. But if she's not able to answer it, it's up for steals, guys. It's up for steals. All right, so our final question with 2 tickets to White Sunset on the board. Our final question comes from our presentation on agriculture from Barnes Farms. Who remembers 3 products created by Barnes Farms? Who remembers 3 products? Yes, Georgiana, 3 products created by Barnes Farms.
When you say products, do you mean like can they be under one brand? Yes. Okay.
Let me consult the manager of Barnes Farms. Under one brand or 3 products? 3 products? Yeah. Well, whatever answer you give, the Barney representative for Barnes Farms will decide. Well.
Okay, if I remember correctly, the same tropical munch. They have the plantain chips, the breadfruit chips, the banana chips. You also do tours and training. Does that count as a product? It counts? It counts? Okay. So. Thank you. I technically win one, I have to give her one. That's okay.
One last question. She gets 1 ticket and 1 last question for another one.
Okay, somebody else can respond.
Okay, so let me wrap my brain a bit. Which presentation do we have?
Mr. Dennis.
Mr. Dennis.
The my got shirt.
So she win the ticket or not?
Yes, she won the ticket. Yes, she won 1 ticket. There's another White Sunset ticket up for steals. You see, we came prepared. Okay.
In blue, because I mentioned those 4.
All right. So, from our presentation on AI, presented by Mr. Nichols Dennis, the question is, and this is for 1 White Sunset ticket. And please feel free to try. Try, guys. Please try. What are the key components of effective AI prompting? Now, I know we use ChatGPT, Gemini, and Grok all the time, and sometimes we just talk to it randomly. We don't put anything in any specific format. But Mr. Dennis, in his presentation, and he even had some he even had some examples. So, what are the key components of effective AI prompting?
Well, I don't think it's fair. She studied for the test.
I wrote notes. You have to take notes.
She wrote those for picture.
So my note says, this would involve a 4-step process. Roll, context, command, and format.
So that's the answer, guys. That's 1 White Sunset ticket. And that's it for our prizes.
One more question? I don't know.
One more question.
Just want to make an announcement. All right, so for the White Sunset tickets, our sponsor said there are no physical tickets yet. So, but the tickets are going to be available next week. So we'll just need the names, and you'll get the tickets.
All right. So make sure before you leave your name with the organizers. One more question, one last question. What can the question be? I was paying attention, you know. Of course. Oh, okay, so we have a question from the Vice President.
All right. As an entrepreneur, I believe most of us are entrepreneurs. What would you say is a work with value? Well, three things, 3 points, 3 things you would say you will attribute to a work with value, like a valued work.
Okay, so something I think that would make a work stand out and you consider it a work with value, one would be authenticity, how original, it is. 2, how it responds to the community or what community need it is solving or fixing. So that will determine how high of a value it is, how people relate to it. And the third thing that I would consider something or a project of high value is how it can be repeated. So most of the time things are of high value. They can be, repeated is not the word. It can be replicated, it can be copied, it can be, and when I mean copied, I mean in terms of it is something that can, like it can go on for generations, etc., and be sustainable and, etc. So that would be something for me that would be of high value.
Right, and you are an expert, so let's give it up. Okay, so this now brings us to the end of our event, the Think Outside of the Box Youth Symposium 2025, hosted by the Dominica Young Entrepreneurs Club. We were so happy for everyone who were able to be here today.
And then after, but
okay, no problem. We're so happy for everyone who came here today. Times from your busy schedule, and you spend the entire day with us. Give a round of applause to yourself. All right. And right now, our panelist, Miss Ayola, has something to say.
Okay, so I know we're all ready to go to the after party or home, but I was trying to figure out what the painting was, because it's like abstract, and I said, is this a ship in a sea of clouds? And she said, no, it's a box. Think outside the box. And I was like, what? And the sun is a Bitcoin. I just thought it was so interesting the way she explained it. It's a box. Think outside the box. It's not a ship.
Nice. So we just want to... Yeah.
Can I go with a copy of it?
But of course, before you leave, please take a photo next to it. But for sure, remember the happy hour, the vibe at the Realm. We can head over to the happy hour right now. So thank you once again for being here. We really appreciate it. And do have a great rest of your day. All right.